Welcome to the Education and Training, and this is Dr. John Lukomona, your tutor today. We've looked at a number of topics in the series, and today I would like us to continue the work on boundaries. At the start of this course, we had talked about setting boundaries for your students, setting rules, classroom rules, and so forth. But I wanted to look at you as the tutor. So this session will look at boundaries. By the end of this session, you will be able to identify your professional boundaries, time constraint boundaries, and how you create boundaries between professionals to professional. These are the key areas of objectives. Now follow me very slowly and step by step. When we talk about a boundary, what comes to your mind? A boundary could be something that you put around your house as a fence, which shows a demarcation between your neighbor, the roadside, and the other side of the neighbor, and the front or the back of your house. So when people come to your area, they will know they are within the boundaries of Dr. John Lukomona's house or outside the boundaries. What is inside the boundary is what Dr. John Lukomona accepts as part of his culture in the house, or things that can be done or cannot be done. Anything which is outside the boundary has nothing to do with Dr. John Lukomona. So in the same way as a teacher or a trainer or a professional, there are boundaries. Some of these boundaries are very, very critical. Others, if you're on the other side, they may not be as critical, as illegal as they could be, in the sense that other people who are outside your profession may be allowed to do what they do in their profession. Those who are in your profession can only do what's allowed in your profession. In other ways, the practices that you see take place in other professions may not take place in your profession, because your profession has got different focal point. Although it may appear legal in that other profession, in your profession it could be illegal. So this is what boundaries have to deal with. So follow me with the presentation, and we're going to discuss elements step by step, and I trust that you follow through. At the bottom of your mind, or somewhere in your mind, I want you to have this as a focus. I'm going to draw something here, and first of all, I will just do a short phrase. I'll say what you see here is very fundamental. Okay. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Something didn't go quite right there. Yeah, we are on schedule. Yes. What you see there is quite fundamental. What I want us to look at is simply the following: the boundaries. We are going to look at something's happening. Okay, I'll pause there a little bit and sort out this technical issue. Okay, we are talking about boundaries. So what I'm going to do here is a short demonstration. We have to consider, first of all, the student at the top, then we look at the tutor. So the relationship we are looking at is the tutor-student relationship. So the journey of a teacher is based on the student-tutor relationship. So everything that we formulate around your profession has to have a focal point on the welfare of the tutor and the student. The welfare of the tutor and the student. with all the surrounding professions that support the system. In other words, anything that is put across as a legislation or a boundary is looking at your welfare as a teacher and the welfare of a student as a student. So this is very fundamental to look at. When we begin to formulate boundaries, we are looking at these relationships. And just to illustrate the point, we find that a student is linked to the community, is linked to the community, is also linked to employers. At the end of the day, whatever we do, we want to make this candidate be able to fit in the community appropriately to access the right jobs. Now the tutor is a professional. The tutor is a professional who is very well linked, just like a student, to the community. And by proxy is also linked to the employer. The employer for this teacher could be a school, college, university, or as the case might be. And then you discover that a tutor becomes key to what? Give knowledge. So these are the issues we are dealing with in all our consideration. The key to give knowledge. Now, with this in mind, I'd like you to absorb this schematic diagram, because it's very important to note that the student-tutor relationship has to be treated very well, and everything we create as legal boundaries or whatever it is centers on this relationship to make the journey of these two worth a while, and at the end of the day produce a student who can get better employment or fit in the community, or even in my things, or even I'll put on even, I'll get the red one, even business. These will become honors. So we are developing people to become owners of systems, which is why everything we're going to talk about as boundaries are very important. Now, let's make a quick move here and deal with the other matters. So with that in mind, I want us to proceed and look at the following. Boundaries. In teaching, like any other profession, some of the important boundaries to look at are, as a matter of fact, time constraint, keeping within job role, maintain appropriate confidentiality, safeguarding, teaching to the prescribed content, professional boundaries. So these are some of the areas we are going to look at. When we talk about time constraint, what comes in your mind about time constraint? That is to say, you as a professional teacher, you must know when the course starts and when the course finishes. A course must be delivered in a set time. And these set times are normally given in guided learning hours and directed learning hours. and also months in which they are supposed to start and the month in which they're supposed to finish. Because these will guide you to set your assignments, set deadlines, and also know the final examination date which your exam board wants to have those materials be delivered by, or date by which a written exam must be carried out, and in what context. So these are very important. This is I would say the universal or umbrella time bound. The start of the course, the end of the course. Another time bound that you're supposed to look at as a boundary is what, on a day-to-day basis, how much time are you supposed to spend with your students in a classroom or one-to-one? Is it 1 hour, 3 hours, etc.? So those things are very important. Therefore, you must have a timetable as a professional teacher. This is very critical. The next boundary that you're going to look at is the following, which is keeping within your job role. What is the role of a teacher? In one of the units or some earlier topics we did, we looked at the roles and responsibilities of a teacher. You are supposed to stick to those roles. The primary role you have is delivering and giving knowledge in any setting that you are allowed by your institution or your employer. Or it could be a college, it could be a school, it could be a university, it could be a workplace where your role is to develop people there who are working. So the question is, what job roles have you been designated to do? If you recap very quickly, there will be teaching, which is a primary objective. Around this, you must design an inclusive lesson plan. You must be able to do initial assessments. You must be able to do enrollments as well. You must be able to, in schools and colleges, do parents' evening. There are those things which are defined in your job description, and you focus on those aspects. Anything outside that, you are exceeding your boundaries. And I'd like you to read more on these aspects so that you become a master in this area. Maintaining appropriate confidentiality. As part of safeguarding, in England or the United Kingdom, there are actually rules and principles that we are governed by in terms of safeguarding. Safeguarding ranges from safeguarding vulnerable adults, safeguarding young people, and safeguarding even your work colleagues in terms of the way you conduct yourself. And these things must be observed. In other words, you must be well informed of the do's and don'ts. You must also be well informed in terms of young people, if you can work young people, escalation. If there's a situation, what do you do? Who is a trained personnel in this situation? What are you supposed to do as a teacher, not exceeding your boundaries in any circumstance? Very critical. Safeguarding is very, very important. For those who are outside the FE environment, or maybe they're dealing with the children from 0 to 5, early years is there, and you can look up and read and also put yourself on appropriate courses to become familiar. So safeguarding is very critical. So when you look at maintaining confidentiality, is part of safeguarding, because if somebody comes to you as a student, they want to talk about issues around their course. This is just about the course. Anything which is personal to them, don't disclose to anybody. Confidentiality, but confidentiality here has a limit. Limit meaning, if you're a teacher, there are things that must not remain with you as a profession, but they must be also known to the manager, your supervisor. So confidentiality has a boundary. We normally talk about the ring. If I can quickly maybe imagine, here you are a tutor in the center. As confidential as matters would be, when you record it, your manager, who is your supervisor will have access to that information. And if anything that needs to be disclosed further, it will go in the outer circle, which is now the what we call partnership. Is it the parents, the police, etc., etc., etc.? Is escalation. So some things remain with you and the student regarding the cost, such as, oh, is your assignment all right? Yes, this is my assignment. Have you signed it? Yes, I've signed it. So that work is his work. I cannot take that work to give to another student to copy it. That work belongs to the student. And you look at these details as simple, but they're very important. It could lead into plagiarism if we take a candidate's work that you love so much, you give to another candidate. Oh, look at Jim's work. His is very good. Why don't you? You can't do that. So you have to look at your boundaries, maintaining confidentiality. Another area that we look at is safeguarding, which we've talked about in referring to some of the aspects. Safeguarding is very critical, and you have to look at, in your context, what elements you consider as part of safeguarding. And anyone who is working with young people or adults must go through safeguarding at whatever level. It's very important. In safeguarding, it also comes into areas where a candidate can disclose certain things to you, because at initial assessment, people talk about the background, where they've come from. Confidentiality come into play there. People will look at their issues from home, or why I'm not performing well because this is happening. Safeguarding issues come in there. When you're talking about a lesson delivery in the classroom, safeguarding young people or vulnerable adults, or as the case might be, what are you not supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? So there your professional conduct comes into being. You may know a lot about the candidates outside the classroom. You are supposed to deliver a lesson professionally, not referring to issues that you know outside. So safeguarding is a big thing in your teaching profession. Then we also come to the other point, which is teaching to the